What's up, guys? This is Andrew Smersek with Combat Training, and I'm back again with Don Edwards of Greenline Tactical, one of my favorite companies to train with. In this video, we're going to be talking about red dot pistols and the gear that goes into it. So different types of red dots, different mounts, stuff like that. Because if you are investing into this, you want to make sure you are buying the best gear and you don't have to buy it again. So Don, I'll let you take it away. I think we should start probably with different models of red dots. Sure. And what you prefer, and also enclosed versus open emitter.
Right on. Well, preference, as you know, around here we're aim point guys. We're big fans of the Acro P1 and P2. Been using the P1 since it first came out, and as soon as we get our hands on the the P2s, we started using those. Not to say that I don't have other stuff. So these are a couple of Acros. Actually, this is an Acro P2. This is an Acro P1. Over here, what is this one? Shoot, I can't remember. It's the small.
The new small enclosed one.
Yeah.
The name?
EPS carry.
Yep.
This is a Hellson EPS carry. And what do you got there? Is that yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 509.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, 509T.
X2.
So this is actually kind of a semi-enclosed. These are all enclosed.
Yeah.
Behind us we got a couple of 507s. But so really like the aim points. They're rugged. They're proven over time, both on the rifles, and they've proven themselves on the pistols with the Acros. Some of the first dots that we ever put on handguns were 8.2 ones.
How were you guys doing that back then? Was it?
I had my first one, and I think Sam's two were on. Actually, he used the Baylor mount from Raven Concealment.
Okay.
Which just replaces the dovetail and the rear plate on the Glock, and so it's no modification to the gun. And I started out my whole journey on this using the Unity Tactical Atom slide system. We've had good friendship with those guys over the years.
Yeah,
so that's what, actually this is a stock slide that's been milled for the Atom 2.0, and this is an Atom slide on this one here. So that's how we've mounted them on there. Guys that are using the MOS system, I know you're using the C&H Precision replacement plate. Forward Controls design makes a good plate for it, and so does Dawson Precision, I'm told.
So there's basically like there's the no modification ones. That's like the Atom mount, but those are kind of going.
Yeah, the Atom is like because now with everything coming optics ready, I don't think there's such a market for going out and buying a slide that's already modular anymore.
Right.
It's kind of they definitely ushered that in. I believe they were some of the first, if not the first, to produce something like that where you could actually interchange the mounting plates and stuff like that, so you could use different optics. And if different footprints ever came out, all you had to do was get a new plate that was designed for that, and you didn't have to remill your gun or anything like that. And that was a really good option back in the days when we had to do a direct mill, directly cut in, because then you're married to whatever you get your gun cut for.
Right.
Back then everybody was using RMR was about it, so it wasn't a big deal. Actually, that's the only thing we don't have represented out here, which I still say the RMR is the gold standard. It's the original one that people started using a lot in this capacity.
But what were some of the issues that you will see if you get an RMR versus a P1 or a 509?
The initial issues were basically that the first generation of RMRs were not designed for pistols. So you would think, well, a rifle, is more powerful than a pistol, but it's not as punishing, because on the pistol, what you have is you have the slide going back and forth.
Right.
So that force, that reciprocation, is what's just tearing up that optic. And so as opposed to an M4, it's just a recoil impulse.
Right.
It's not the same. So the RMR was designed primarily by them to be mounted up on top of the ACOG.
Right.
Back in the day for the SOT mod kit.
That's how I had it in the Marine Corps.
Now,
like talking about enclosed versus open, the RMR, that was one of the things where when that was the option, I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait, and I held out. I wanted one of those. I just never found one.
Yeah, they're hard to find, and
But like,
They're not super inexpensive either.
yeah, the issue I had was we would always get moon dust on the inside of them, right? Well, in Afghanistan at least, and then other debris other
Here,
places.
Behind you, we've got 507, which is a very similar style, open emitter. So what we're basically doing here is we're talking about open emitter versus closed emitter, right?
Yeah.
So with this open emitter, what we have is, if it looks kind of like an EOTech, backwards, that's what we're talking about. And it actually projects the laser dot up into it. So it's the emitter's external to the glass, right? So what the concern always was, well, if I get some crap in there and stuff like that, what we learned was it really wasn't as big of a problem as people made it, as we imagined it to be in our heads.
Right.
In real life, we'd be out on the range. I've been out in some very, very shitty conditions. And to be honest with you, the optics were all still doing just fine, or they weren't degrading in performance at any faster rate than any of the other equipment that was out there. Like everybody's glasses were fogged up. Like, what's going to happen if this fogs up? Well, everybody's Oakleys were fogged up. It was raining. It was freezing. The rain gear was soaked all the way through. The people were falling apart at a faster rate than the gear.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been in some pretty extreme conditions, and it really isn't that big of a deal.
Right.
You have to accept some sort of extra work and care and feeding when you just do decide to run an optic on your pistol.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of extra work to it. It's kind of like buying a Harley Davidson, right? If you have to understand that you're going to have to work on that baby a little bit if you're going to ride it. If you don't want to work on your bike, then you buy a Rice Rocket or something like that, a Honda that doesn't need, just change the oil every once in a while. But if you shoot 1911s, you need to work on them. There's a care and feeding that goes into that, and just understand that. But the benefits you get from it, I think, way outweighs it. So, open emitter, closed emitter would be, this is a perfect example. And these hollow suns are enclosed, which means all of the LEDs and stuff are inside here. So it's much more protected from the elements and the weather and mud and dirt and stuff like that. A little bit more rugged. Is it a game changer? I don't think so. I'd say some of the biggest things that I think the enclosed emitters ushered in was the ability to change the battery.
Yes.
Without having to take it off.
That was the other big thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things with the RMR is you have to take the battery off. Now this is a newer 507, so this has a little side drawer, so you don't have to do that with this. But somewhere around here, maybe that one has an older 507 that you actually will have to take it off to replace the battery. But these open emitter or enclosed emitters, same story. You can change the battery without taking the optic off, so that's a good thing.
So would you say probably from the trends we're seeing now, we're going to go more towards enclosed emitters overall?
I think that's what we're seeing. I haven't seen anybody lately come out with a new version, a new optic that wasn't enclosed. We just got our hands on some made by C&H Precision, and it's an enclosed emitter. It's very much. Yeah, well, we have one. It's not mounted on a gun or anything. So
I'm excited to find out how those.
But it looks kind of like an aim-point acro. As a matter of fact, it's very robust looking, and I'm looking forward to getting it on a gun and shooting it. I don't know of anybody that's making something new that is open, that's open emitter. But if they are,
and then I'd say, would you say if they're like if they're going to be using it for duty use, would you say just go ahead and go enclosed?
Yeah, I'd say if you can. It's not a game changer. I'd say definitely pick something that you can change the battery without having to take it off. Especially if you're like a police department or something like that. You don't want everybody taking their stuff off once a year or something like that. But just the peace of mind knowing that you didn't lose your zero just because you have to change battery.
And that it's still properly mounted.
Yeah, it stayed mounted, yeah. That's one of the big things, is if we have time to talk about that right now,
go ahead.
Is mounting systems. First of all, it should be common knowledge by now that if you're going to shoot your gun hardly any at all, and it's a Glock MOS, you should be looking to replace that plate. It's just not the sturdiest system. And the three companies that I'm aware of that make quality replacement plates, C&H Precision, Forward Controls Design and Dawson Precision right now. And there may be more that I'm unaware of. Make higher quality mounting plates to replace the MOS and better hardware and everything. And you owe it yourself to upgrade that.
And like we've both seen MOS plates just fall off.
Yeah.
And that's why we're saying that.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah, there's a problem. We go into super detail about it in class, but they just don't quite fit the way they should. The other things too is make sure that you're mounting it properly.
Yes.
You got to torque it to the right spec. You need to read the manual and see what the manufacturer says, and you need to use quality thread locker. All right, what you got there? You got some torque stuff?
Yeah, I just want to pull out. So Fix-It 6 is what I like. Is there any other sets you like?
I mean, I use I've got some machinist torque bit, screwdriver set that I use when I initially mount. Stuff like that, but those are great for on the range.
And you can get these on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like you get the basic set for like a little bit over $100. Has the torque right there, and then a nice T handle, which I've jacked mine up, but I can still use it.
And if you don't know what it should be, 15 to 18 inch-pounds is generally right there in a sweet spot. As far as thread locker goes, we recommend the purple Loctite. It's designed for the smaller, finer screws. It's not permanent. It's 222 is the number for it. It's Loctite. It's purple. A lot of us, until not too long ago, we had no idea there was such thing as purple Loctite. But now we're realizing that for this purpose, that is probably the right choice. Blue has been used a lot. It's for larger screws than these tiny little ones for 6mm and up.
So just think about the way that stuff is drying, and it needs to do that correctly in that thread size.
Yeah. So it's designed, so the purple is designed for this type of activity. One of the things and then you definitely don't want to use red, that's going to be permanent.
Yeah.
Vibratite, we used to like that, but it kind of gums things up. We've been on this quest to get these things mounted properly and then spread that knowledge. Say one of the big things that people do incorrectly is they don't torque it right though.
Right.
Because if you over torque it, you could really put undue stress on the screw and cause it to break, or cause a weak spot where it will break eventually under that reciprocation, because it's under a lot of force, and these screws aren't designed for this kind of shearing force, right? So if you tighten it down too much, what you're doing is you're starting to stretch that metal, and you're making a weak spot in it, and now when it's going to break right there.
And if you do lose that screw or something like that, you should call the manufacturer, like whoever you bought that plate from. Don't just walk in the hardware store and grab anything.
Yeah, especially if you spent the money to upgrade to one of the higher quality ones. More likely than not, it's a higher quality tungsten type screw, or they chose those specifically. They just didn't go to Alibaba.com and buy 1,000 of the cheapest ones they could find. So yeah, the care and the feeding, you want to use some anti-fog and keep them clean, check it out every once in a while. I mean, hey, look, you got to change the battery. You got to put gas in your car too. You got to change the oil in your truck every once in a while. You got to take care of your stuff. If you take care of it, it will take care of you.
Now for battery life, how those Acros do?
These Acros, you're going to get years out of the P2. The P1 has a smaller battery, so you're going to get measured in months. Depends on how much you use it. If you don't carry it all the time, if it's like a safe queen, turn the dang battery off.
Right.
Turn the side off. Stuff like that. If we do a lot of nighttime shooting, so our stuff is down in the dimmer modes quite a bit. So we may get a little bit better battery life than a lot of guys do. But the P2, that's the original battery, I'm pretty sure, and it's been on that gun for a couple of years, already. I don't really worry about it. I do keep spares just in case, handy. The Hollow Suns are running about the same. Some of these little ones, the EPS has a smaller battery, so I'm not sure what the battery life is, but you're guaranteed to get at least a year out of almost all of these.
Right. Probably like today, don't go for something that's measured in months if you're buying your first red dot.
Yeah.
Probably get something that's measured in years. Now, all right, just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Dot size.
Okay. I like smaller. I like the 3.5 on the 3 1/4 on the RMR. The 3, they're all a little different. I got friends of mine who love the 1 MOA dot. I don't have any of those, but I like the 2. if I could get a 2 MOA, my P1 is a 2 MOA dot. That's on my Glock 17. But
just smaller in general.
yeah, I like smaller in general. I can still see it. You know, some guys like, well, I want a big dot so I can see it quickly. It's a red dot. You can brighten it up, right? But that moment that you need to shoot something that, you know, this big, and your dot is covering up everything, is when you're gonna wish you had something a little bit more finer and precise. So what we've seen in practice is the opposite, that we don't really need a bigger dot to see the dot. It's a training issue. If you didn't see it, doesn't matter how big it is. If your presentation is incorrect.
Yeah. So like, and you've probably seen, it was the primary arms one where it's got the chevron and the huge circle. So in case you don't have it, you see which part of the circle you're on, right?
Yeah, and it kind of tells you left, right, up, down.
That seemed like a great idea, and then when I actually started like using dots, I was like, nah.
I think it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
I know people who like it a lot, but they caveat that with saying as soon as you learn how to shoot it, you don't need it anymore. I'm like, well, why don't you just learn how to shoot it?
Yeah.
And some of the Hollow Suns come with a EOTech style reticle. I've always been a single red dot guy, so I always turn that off. But some people love it. I know we have a mutual friend, Lewis, who prefers the circle only. And that's what he likes, and I think that maybe his preference based on what he uses for rifles too.
And I think that's great for, you know, practical distances with a pistol. Absolutely. You know, if you're probably going to use it not far from you if you have to shoot it, but I turn it off the ring. It gives me better battery life. I can see the target more clearly, especially in lower light, and I get that better precise point of aim. Seeing the target more clearly too. What is your opinion on green dots?
I like red. I think red stands out against the background, just about every background. Green is a color that is in nature. Red is pretty much not. You're gonna see that red against whatever backdrop you're pointing at, much brighter. I know that green is a brighter color during the daytime, but I think that applies for lasers more than the actual optics. I'm not a big proponent. Now, some people, if you're colorblind and you can't see red, then green might be the option for you.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a personal preference, but I do think that red just kind of stands out against all backdrops.
Now, I've seen this different with like different brands. So like it wasn't so bad with the Trijicon, but it was worse with a Hollow Sun, where the green and, you know, that lower light where you can still see the target, putting up a green dot, because it's so much brighter of a wavelength, I couldn't see the target anymore. Whereas if I had to dim down red, I could. I couldn't dim down the green enough to see the target. I would 100% have to go to white light to be able to shoot it. Have you guys noticed anything like that, or more of a
not so much? I think it's kind of nuance, and then sometimes there's just different people see things a little differently or better.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Any other red dot stuff?
One last thing that we always get questions about is, what about iron sights? And I was like, why not? You know, why wouldn't you want to have iron sights on there just in case? There are times where something can happen with this. Everything can go down, the batteries can die, it can get broken. So it's just a redundant sighting system that is there if you need them.
And you prefer iron sights in front?
I don't care. As you can see, I've got some with it in front and some with it in back. You know, the biggest thing seems to be and it depends on how it's all mounted. A lot of times you want taller suppressor height sights. This here is mounted low enough that these are standard height iron sights, because this optic is low enough into the slide because it's milled for these optics. So it just kind of depends.
And I think you're not worried about tritium, right?
Right. I'm less and less concerned about tritium on iron sights as I was in the early days. Of course, now with the red dot, it works so much better at night than even tritium sights by themselves. I feel like as defensive shooters, there's a very, very almost non-existent portion of time where we need tritium. So if it's too dark for you to see your sights, is it bright enough for you to identify someone, whether you're going to kill them or not? As soon as you turn your white light on, you can see your iron sights.
Right.
So as soon as you bring artificial illumination into the mix, you no longer needed tritium sights. I think people, law enforcement and first responder type people, there are more opportunities where they might benefit from that. But I think for the average defensive shooter, no. And then also because we do so much with night vision, that having all those different glowing things out there when all I want to see is a red dot or green or whatever color it is, went through my nods, everything's green through green screen, right? And whatnot. So tritium does get busy when it comes to nighttime stuff when I'm running a dot. It seems like a good idea, but it doesn't work out as well as you plan in real life.
All right, cool. Is that it?
Yeah. Put a light on your gun and carry one in your pocket.
Yep. If you don't carry a handheld light, at least you are wrong. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Check out Greenline Tactical's website, greenlinetactical.com. Link is in the description. Sign up for one of their classes. Next video we're going to do is going to be talking about the red dot pistol class. So, thank you for watching. Keep fighting communism, and remember that training saves lives.